Members, Mr. Spiller's time has expired. Before we continue with the bill, the chair recognizes Mr. Harris of Anderson for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move to limit amendments on House Bill 4 to those currently on the Speaker's desk.
Members, you heard the motion.
Members, it's 3 minutes pro and con debate. The chair recognizes Mr.
Members, it is a 3-minute pro-con debate. The chair recognizes Mr. Harris of Anderson. Ms. Martinez-Fisher, for what purpose?
Gentleman yield.
Would the gentleman yield for questions?
Sure.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Harris, there are members who have amendments that are in certain phases of being drafted right now, and I hate to cut them off. I know I have one that I'm working on, and we've submitted it 30, 45 minutes ago. We're just waiting. And so under your motion, would you give allowance for people who have amendments already at Ledge Council's desk, just waiting for drafts to get back and get them filed?
The motion as it's made, I don't think that's an amendable motion. So what we're talking about is the amendments that are currently on the Speaker's desk. There's, I think, 46 amendments that have already been filed. And so I would imagine that there's plenty of opportunity to have the full debate on this bill with that many amendments.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Martinez-Fisher.
Department to inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to this motion, if it were adopted, would this motion apply to amendments to the amendment?
Mr. Martinez-Fisher, it will not apply to amendments to the amendment.
Okay, so just original new amendments. Okay, thank
Correct.
you. Well, Representative, I would ask you whether it's an amendable motion or not. I don't know, but perhaps if you'd be willing to maybe just pull this down for a few minutes and we can talk about it. You can certainly reassert it if you're not persuaded to allow the members who have put the time to get their amendments drafted to get those filed.
I appreciate your request, but at this time, I don't think I would agree to it.
Okay.
The chair recognizes Ms. Niave Criado in opposition to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this motion is a surprise motion, and let me say that this is one of the most sweeping bills that is going to try to circumvent the United States Constitution. It is a piece of legislation that is going to impact millions of fellow Texans, and to have the opportunity to amend these bills cut off when, let me say that Ledge Council, we have submitted amendments in the past to Ledge Council. They are short-staffed. They do not have the same amount of staff to be able to draft the amendments that we need. We hear new arguments today as the author is laying them out. We're going to continue to hear arguments if we want an opportunity to amend to protect the people of Texas. This motion is going to be devastating. And let me say, if this body is trying to circumvent or challenge the Arizona versus United States Supreme Court case, this is going to, I believe, contribute to showing the courts that this body did not fully entertain every single opportunity to address this massive, sweeping piece of legislation.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Turner, for what purpose?
Would the gentleman yield for questions?
Would the gentleman yield for questions?
I do.
She yields for questions.
Representative Niave, you're the chair of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, is that correct?
That's correct.
And are you telling the body you had no advance notice that Mr. Harris was going to bring this motion before the body?
No, and we have, in good faith, had attempted to have discussions on this legislation. We know the impact of this legislation. Legislative Council has not even given us all of the drafts that we requested on significant pieces of this bill that are creating entirely new crimes. It's not something that's just being amended. This is new body of law that is unprecedented in this country.
Representative Niave, are you aware that in the past, when we've had contentious bills on the floor and there have been a lot of amendments, that at times there has been perhaps there's some agreements reached, but that's only been once there's been some good faith discussion between leaders on both sides of the bills, and you are a leader on one side of this bill, and that has not happened in this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so I hope if Mr. Harris is listening, and I believe he is, that he would reconsider and perhaps have a discussion, pull down this motion, have a discussion with you and negotiate something as to those amendments that you mentioned are still in drafting that members have been working on all day and perhaps for several days. And if he was willing to do that, would you be willing to have that discussion with him?
I'm ready, willing, and able to speak to him about the impact of his motion.
Thank you. I hope he'll reconsider. Thank you.
The gentlelady's time's expired. Mr. Harrison made the motion to limit amendments to those amendments that are currently on the speaker's desk. There have been 26 signatures that have been verified. The question occurs on that motion. This is a record vote. Strict enforcement members, please vote from your desk. And do not vote for any other member. Record vote. Please vote from your desk. Strict enforcement members. We have plenty of time, members. Have all members voted? There being 76 ayes, 52 nays, and 20 absent, the motion prevails. Ms. Niavi-Crowder, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Please state your inquiry.
Does Rule 7, Section 3 of the Texas House Rules govern motions that are allowed during debate?
Could you restate the question, please, your inquiry?
Yes, under Rule 7, Section 3 of the Texas House Rules, is there not a rule that governs which motions may be brought during a debate?
That is correct, Ms. Niavi-Crowder.
And what happens, Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
Please state your
Speaker?
inquiry.
What is the procedure whenever a motion that does not fall within Rule 7, Section 3 is considered?
Ms. Niavi-Crowder, that exists is not an exhaustive list.
Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
The list of the 10 does not include a motion that was made by Mr. Harris. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
Where is the list of other potential motions that could be brought, and where in the rule does it state that this list is not exhaustive? What do you do whenever a motion's not enough?
Ms. Niavi-Crowder, Rule 11, Section 10 provides for such a limitation.
I couldn't hear the speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Rule 11, Section 10 specifically provides for a motion to limit amendments.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
And does the Rule 11, Section 10 fall within Rule 7, Section 3? If you want to follow up on any of this stuff, because
I'm sorry, we have some distractions up front. Could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Does Rule 11, Section 10 fall within Rule 7, Section 3? Do you want to state this?
Rule 11, Section 10 is a specific exception to Rule 7, Section 3. Mr. Martinez Fisher, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
I was listening to the discussion. I'm aware of Rule 11, Section 10 as it relates to motions to limit amendments. As a rule pertaining to amendments, I think the inquiry is the order of when that motion would be in order. And pursuant to Rule 7, Section 3, it seems to limit the motions that can be made during a debate, which is what we're doing right now. And so I think the inquiry is not that Rule 11, Section 10 doesn't exist or isn't applicable. It certainly exists. It's certainly applicable. It's just not in order during a debate pursuant to Rule 7, Section 3. Otherwise, it would be in there.
Subsection C.
I can get my motion, my
Ms. Martinez Fisher, in response to your inquiry, Rule 11, Section 10, subsection C, the motion to limit amendments, if adopted, shall not in any way cut off or limit debate or other parliamentary maneuvers on the pending proposition or propositions or amendments including within the motion. The sole function of the motion is to prevent the chair from accepting further amendments to the proposition to which the motion is applied.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
And so I follow 100% that explanation as it pertains to a motion that is made pursuant to Rule 11. But under Rule 7, Section 3, every subsection within Section 3 is a motion that's in the rules and other places. So in other words, pursuant to Rule 7, Section 3, the only motions that are in order are exclusive to those that are listed in Rule 7, Section 3. And when we're not in debate on a matter, then obviously Rule 11 would apply at any other time, not just during the debate that we were in, is what I'm trying to understand.
Mr. Martinez Fisher, there is no other time in which the opportunity to limit debate would apply than during the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Niavi, Crowder, for what purpose?
parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
Did the speaker say that there were 25 signatures in support of the motion?
There were 26, Ms. Niavi,
26.
Crowder.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
Can you please state the names of those 26 signatures for the record?
They will be printed in the journal.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
I'd like to read the names into the record so that our peers will know. As we know, strict enforcement was called.
Ma'am, that's not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker.
The names will be printed into the journal for public record.
Mr. Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
Please state your inquiry.
Can we inspect the names that signed these 26 names on this document?
I'm sorry, say that again? I couldn't hear
We
you.
would like to inspect the signatures of the names of the individuals who signed this document. It has appeared that some of these individuals are not here today.
Please confer with the journal clerk on those signatures, and we will verify whether or not they're in attendance today.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Please take your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is there a particular reason that we cannot name the names of these 26 individuals who are cutting off debate on the most sweeping anti-immigrant legislation that this body has
It's not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Wally, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, with a parliamentary inquiry.
Please take your inquiry.
I'm trying to comprehend the functionality of what just occurred. The Cody Harris, Representative Cody Harris motion, the net effect was that to, just to repeat, end all amendments that have been filed on the Speaker's desk. Is that the net effect of what's happened? I'm just trying to understand what's happened.
It is to limit the amendments that are currently on the Speaker's desk. I believe there's 47 amendments, and it would be, so the further debate will be limited to the 47 amendments on the desk, plus amendments to the amendment, or the amendments to the amendments to the amendments.
Okay, fair enough. But as members were parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Please take your inquiry.
And so as members who all of us have the ability as members to file debate. So the members that have requested amendments being drafted with Ledge Council as the bill was laid out or before, all those amendments have been cut off, or to use the chair's word, limit those amendments from being laid out for full debate on this bill.
If they have not been filed with the chief clerk by the time we take this vote, they will not be admissible to the body. Correct.
Okay. Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Please take your inquiry.
When was I'm trying to comprehend, based on the rules, based on precedent and the journal, when has this type of amendment or this type of motion, the Cody Harris motion, when have we actually done that on a bill to, in essence, cut off debate? Because that seems like appears that's the net effect of what's happened.
The chair is not advised when the last time this occurred, but it definitely has occurred before in the House.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
Please take your inquiry.
It's happened before, but is it fair to say that it's been rare, particularly on this type of bill of such significance on the House floor?
Mr. Warley, that's not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is fucking bullshit.
Mr. Dutton, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Please take your inquiry.
And you may have said this and I couldn't hear it, but under Rule 7, Section 3, which is headed by motions allowed during debate, and it lists certain motions, but it also says and none other. Does that prohibit any other motions from being made during debate?
This is very DC of us.
Mm-hmm.
The House will stand at ease until 7 o'clock.